Focus. See that knot? So, it's been a good long while, and I've had this hairstyle in for 2.5 months, which means it is very much time for it to come out, especially since I took out the back too, and I'm pretty sure the roots of like 2 pieces of them have locked up. And what better thing to talk about than the finances of my solo trip. So we'll go ahead and just do the whole shebang. So I feel like finances are super significant when it comes to planning a trip, but it can also be super tedious because honestly, if you don't have the finances prepped and ready to go, you won't know what to do. What do you plan for? What are some of the things that may come about? It's a bunch of little things that you just got to take into account when it comes to finances, since finances is pretty much the basis of whether or not you used to do those things at the end of the day. I feel as though. Another thing to note is that when you think of trips, you don't typically think of individuals going on trips alone. So, not only did I have to make sure I was compensating all the things to go on the trip, but all the things that would typically be shared, such as hotel rooms, maybe a certain activity that would be paid for a group had to be thought of alone, stuff like that. Not too much, but just enough. Just didn't expect no group deals to be had, honest to God. Now, when going over everything, the basis, when looking at all the components that you needed to have into consideration: hotel, the flights, getting around, food, activities. In addition to pre-trip prep, things like self-care, what I wanted to handle before I left, basically anything that would make me feel good while on that trip and to ensure I feel good coming back from the trip. To go ahead and prevent such uproar about what could happen, I went ahead and just made a list prior to the trip about how much I expected to spend, because without having expectations, you kind of are just out there freeballing it willy-nilly, and I genuinely cannot afford to be in another state stranded in any shape or form. Some things had a set cost, such as the activity, which I chose to be Dreamcon, which it was a standard price of $100 unless you wanted to have a premium boost. Now I can't quite remember if the premium boost meant you added $250 or if the total with the premium boost would leave it to total $250. Either way, it would have been an addition, and it's an addition that I did not pay for. Granted, based on what I experienced when I was there, I 100% would pay to go to their premium section. The perks just made sense with the lines and all that good stuff. With the hotel, I had to average out how many nights I was going to stay. So I arrived the 23rd of August. I did not leave until the 30th. So I pretty much stayed for a full week, if we want to make it so we touching the PM and AM hours of being in Texas. A full week. Which is funny because initially I planned on being there for 10 days. That's not necessarily crazy, but to do that on your own, probably got to be a little smarter about that. So, flights, very much straightforward, round trip. I want to get there and I also want to get home. Therefore, that was a straightforward price. Now, something I was a little lackadaisy about that made me kind of like wonder what could potentially happen was whether or not I should select my seating. Specifically when I was learning that I was going to have a layover. It was kind of like, should I select my seats? But I think with the time difference, I wasn't too worried. Yet at the same time, it was still some sort of panic in addition to the fact that I added the check bag process, because 7 days, there was no way I was just gonna go up there with a little backpack, suitcase, and a carry-on bag. That was kind of gratifying too, because obviously the rule is don't be over 50 pounds. And going, I was at a smooth 40 something. Coming back, your girl hit about 50.1, which is 50 pounds. So we made it on successfully, no additional fees. But check bags was 100% the thing. And ultimately, when looking at the check bags and kind of realizing the pricing for that, I decided that selecting my seat wasn't that bad. Granted, the trip was good, but coming home, you kind of like are trying to get back into the mojo of you're about to be back at work and you had a great time. Take this restful energy and just keep applying it, because at the end of the day, like, you gotta go back to work. So why not get you a seat that's gonna make you feel good? In addition to the fact that I realized I wanted to arrive on a high note. And granted, being excited to be in another state is cool. Being excited to be in another state in the seat that I chose, which is always and forever a window seat. Yeah, that was very much the preference. Very much the preference. Transportation. That wasn't too much to clock, because I've rented a car before, and initially I was already told that Austin was a city similar to ones where you just kind of can run through and be free without the need of a car, unless you planned on doing something a bit more sporadic, then you may have to go a little bit far out. But since majority of the things I did were going to be in close proximity, I, one, didn't mind paying for Uber. Two, knew that walking would be a thing and figured that if I was going to be out and about, why not walk and explore the city. And three, was also willing to take on their public metro, whether it be a bus, train, tram, and see how that goes, because I genuinely wanted the full experience of running through Texas. And how can you not have the full experience if you're not using all of their amenities, especially when traveling? That's when you really get to see how people act. And if you haven't traveled and used their amenities travel-wise, you ain't really experienced the city for real. Food was something that had me on edge, only because I knew of the various cuisines that were down there, and I was adamant to try all of those cuisines at some point in time. So I kind of knew it was gonna be jump around, but my appetite is what really made it finicky. Sometimes you'll catch me and I can finish a whole feast all by myself, no problems. And then there are days where I eat something and I don't want anything to eat until the crack of dawn of the next day, because my stomach just don't be for it in any shape or form, just not for it. Why? I really don't know. I genuinely do not know. It just, my stomach be like that sometimes. Hey, it could be the cycle at times, but I just know me in general. When it comes to food, I'm just not eating as much, or I am having a feast. What type of feast? Depends on where I am. But yeah, that's just how the appetite is. And with the appetite being like that, the estimated amount of money, you know, I just knew, because I wanted to try stuff, so maybe put it on a higher note of what I would estimate it to be, you know. Souvenirs. That was one where I kind of knew what I wanted from Texas off rip. I never like thought too much, think it was to be required. But at the same time, despite knowing what I wanted initially, I can admit that I didn't necessarily know how much that one thing cost. I also think of people that are probably immediately the closest to me at this point in time, And I also take into consideration people that may have bought me a souvenir, even if it's not somebody necessarily in close quarters. I just think it's cool to look up and somebody has bought you something from another state or another country, even if it's something just as slight as, you know, a little postcard, because this ain't a postcard I would get here, funny enough. This is a postcard crafted within that location and represents that location within their design. Y'all can feel any type of ways. Your girl is a sucker for a keychain from another state, from another country. It's just really cute to me because the thought of it, and like I said before, your girl ain't gonna find no keychain like this in this area. So it's a reason you had to go out where you were and secure that. Outings. Now, that's something where an estimated price, I was confused top to bottom, because when I think of outings, I think of events that involve other people. And yeah, you can be out and about with people you don't know, but me personally, I can do small stuff alone. Outings by myself, if it's not planned outings to be alone, like a cafe, if I just want to pop over to the movies, if I plan on just running slight errands, outings alone, especially in another state, I was like, it's no way I'm gonna have anything outing wise. But at the same time, my mindset was kind of like, you out here by yourself because you was ready to go. Like, you was prepped and ready to go, and being by yourself doesn't necessarily mean you don't get to go on outings. So that little fear of riding her all about alone, out the window. Because like I said before, out and about by myself, that meant I had made it out of my fears, rather. But you know, I had planned on doing something and I was set on doing it, and by myself is just, oh, like, if this ain't a way of showing determination, I don't know what is. And something that I always prep for is unexpected needs. Unexpected needs is something I plan for with just my 2-week check. Traveling unexpected needs, you tell yourself that you can't just run back home, because obviously we wouldn't be prepping for a flight if we didn't plan on being a flight or two away, now would we? I kept that at a low amount financially, because I had gone through a checklist God knows how many times. I just figured unexpected needs would be a situation in which I genuinely could not pull that out the back of my head to think that that would be an event. And funny enough, it did happen, but not in the way I thought. I thought it was going to be unexpected needs within an event, not unexpected needs within my prior prep stuff. Nevertheless, I was glad I prepared for it. Prior preparation. That consisted of hair, nails, and attire. Out of all of the prep, nails is something that I was 100% going to get done that I cannot do myself. I can't do a single nail for nothing. Funny, because if I wanted to, I could do my feet. Nails was definitely going to get done, and I typically am very simple in the sense of length, and I always just get a base color. But in this case, I wanted to get a design, because I mean, hello, we outside, and it's our first solo trip. Independence. So that was definitely added to the list. Attire, I surprisingly didn't buy that many pieces of clothing, but at the same time, I had pieces of clothing on my mind from different stores that was like, maybe I seen the window, or maybe I like looked in the catalog. If I ran online because they had a sale and was just gonna like take a look, and I was like, oh, this would be perfect for the trip. So I went, did all that shopping, looked around, saw what was up, and was kind of like, I don't think I need any of this. Especially when you look up and you realize that half of the pieces you've seen, you probably already got. They just shaped slightly different. Maybe they got a slightly different cut to it, but at the same time, it's pretty much the same thing. The last thing was hair. Now, hair, that was a real questionable situation. Initially, I was going to prep my hair to account for the event, just in case I wanted to dress up a certain way. But when I realized the lugging and the energy that would be required to dress up, I just kind of was like, I'll save this for another time. I was ultimately alone, and when you have people supporting each other lugging something, it's a much easier job. So we'll save it. But with that being said, I had came to that decision so late in the game, there was no way I was going to secure a hair appointment. So with me having just taken my hair out, waiting oh so late, changing my mind, I ended up going and wearing my natural hair, and it came out really good. Something that I didn't think about prior to even going up there was to what extent the weather would impact me. Obviously, I checked the weather because I wanted to be prepared if something was to come about, especially since I hate wet clothes. I would much rather be inside when it's raining than outside when it's raining. I just, you know, sometimes weather can impact you emotionally. It can impact your health. In this case, that weather down there maintained my hair oh so well. You don't even understand. To maintain a kinky curly afro for over 3 days. The fluff, minimal. I was genuinely oh so excited. And even though we're speaking on finances, I still gotta speak on all things I didn't quite account for, like homesickness. I never ever would have thought homesickness would come about, because my geekiness for independence and my adamant on going on this trip, I just felt like would overrule my urge to want to come home. And I did realize, even when I was pressed to go home, it's not necessarily that I was like, oh, I need to get back to my daily life. It was just, oh man, like this would have been great for some people I love. This experience would have hit different if I had this person along with me, or can I figure out if this activity can be done at home or near home, in which I can have people prepped and ready to go to run around with me. I am 100% an introvert, and there are a lot of tasks that are enjoyable in groups that I have done alone. But at the end of the day, when people on your mind and you just know they would have enjoyed the experience as equally as you were enjoying the experience, you just wish that some things may have gone about changing. Am I trying to take the experience I had back, or would I change it? Absolutely not. But if I can have an experience like this and share it, I'm gonna do that. Because the happiness that surged through me even after I came home, even now when I think about that, I just feel like it would be so much more to run it back with somebody and talk about those things and then get different key points on something. It just hits different. Like, I 100% sat around at some point, maybe 2 days, so it was like day 5, and was laying there and was talking about how I was just like, oh, what was me? I'm ready to go home. I want to be home. I want to be home. I couldn't really be a downer, because like I said, I was out there for 7 days. Your girl had 2 more days to do it up. And it wasn't crazy 2 days, you know? It was just those lax days where it was kind of like I've done so much already. Like, oh man, like, and I still got quite a bit of things to do. Nevertheless, next trip, capital trip, I definitely want to have friends and or family, especially since I've only showed y'all one. Of all the states the US got, we've got one. We got a good long ways to go. Yes, ma'am. Everything is out. These roots. Oh yeah. Everything. Hang time go crazy. The roots go crazy because they look like they need a little trimming. But I'm gonna go ahead, run it back once I have shampooed and conditioned my hair, because this buildup at the roots, if you see it, this buildup, that's a double cleanse. I need to make sure my scalp can breathe, and I need to make sure my hair is not continuing to, you know, fight for its life. So yeah, I'll be back. Just go ahead doing something simple, because the amount of breakage that came along with this hairstyle was a bit alarming. The perks of the finances that we had while outside. Something that had to be addressed was the fact that I am a college student, and y'all know students stay with some type of perk whatsoever, and whenever they had one, I used it. Another one was with the hotels. I prefer Hilton, so as a Hilton member, I had some points. Applying those points allowed things to drop to a certain extent. Alongside the fact that the job I work at currently provided some perks for me too. So with those three, immediate discounts were applied. In the case of traveling, I do have an American Express card. And I don't mean that one where you got an annual fee. We're not doing it up like that. The one I have does still give you traveling perks when used in situations such as flights, car rides, and a couple of other things that they just offer as a whole. So that also allowed me to save some money while also boosting up your girl's credit. I can definitely say that with the perks that dealt specifically with me being connected to something, it probably knocked off a smooth 5 to 10% of pricing for a couple of activities and a couple of processes that I end up undergoing. Something else that I didn't account for but saved me money was general kindness. I don't expect to just hop on to things and obtain new things and quick drinks or maybe a little food for free, but at the end of the day, when it's given, it is greatly appreciated. Including the kindness of others, I would definitely say that I saved another 5% alongside the initial agreement of being a part of something. So, in total of savings, I would estimate them between the rate of 10 to 20%. Potentially. There's no way of me to really calculate what the perks were, because I would have to outline what the initial price was, and we know good and well I did stupid. And this is becoming long, so I'm gonna just go ahead and skip to the end. Yeah. Stay out cricket. Don't worry about it. Either way, I was tired. It took a lot. It is 12:18. I started at 6 something. Like, it's just, we tired. With all the interpretations and everything, I expected to spend at least $5,500 in total for this trip. What I actually spent, after calculating everything, tracking and all that, even addition of tips and all that included, $3,092.17. And if you are wondering how, I'll have a whole outline down in the bio. But other than that, that's the rundown. This is my hair. And if you ever thought about running around through a whole nother state like a hooligan while also having the time of your life, at least 3,000 and you should be good to go. If you want any more information like this with some unique content and cricket ponytails, be sure to come back to my page, Alasia DM, like and subscribe, and I will see you when I see you. Bye.
Feel it.